The storm had started at noon, but by nightfall it was a relentless wall of rain, lightning, and wind that shook the windows of Mark's apartment. He had been alone for days, lost in work, and the silence of the city was broken only by the occasional rumble of thunder. At first, it was subtle, a flicker on the television screen that shouldn't have been on. Static, black and white, crawling across the glass like a living thing. Mark blinked and rubbed his eyes, thinking it was the storm, a surge in the old wiring. Then he heard it, faint at first, almost beneath the hiss of electricity, a whisper calling his name. Mark! His heart slammed against his ribs. He jumped, scanning the empty room, but there was no one. He tried to laugh it off, muttering to himself. But the whisper came again, louder, insistent, threaded with urgency. The static on the TV seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. The whispers didn't stop. They came through the radio, even the blinking microwave display. They knew things he had never told anyone. Childhood embarrassments, moments of cowardice, thoughts he had buried deep. They spoke as though they had been waiting, cataloging him, preparing for this moment. You can't hide. We see everything. Mark tried to leave the apartment. The hallway seemed normal at first, but as he stepped into it, the lights flickered, elongating shadows that stretched unnaturally across the walls. Every door he tried to open led him back to his own apartment. Panic clawed at him. The whispers became a constant stream, overlapping, urgent, unintelligible at times, then sharp and clear, his fears, his regrets, his sins. He unplugged the TV, smashed the radio, tore apart his laptop, but the voices didn't die. They had seeped into the walls, the floors, the very air. Even when he closed his eyes, he could see the flicker of static, tiny figures moving just at the edges of his vision. Shadows with long limbs, faceless, pointing at him, whispering secrets he didn't want to hear. Sleep became impossible. Every night the static grew louder, more insistent. Figures began to emerge from it, pale, distorted, featureless faces pressing through the haze of black and white, stretching their hands toward him. They whispered in unison, a chorus of voices, some sounding like people he had known, some completely alien. They didn't just call his name. They told him things that hadn't happened yet, secrets about neighbors, friends, strangers passing on the street. Mark stopped eating. He stopped answering calls. He barricaded the doors, covered the windows, but the static found him. The voices became intimate, almost tender, coaxing him to listen, to obey. One night, it spoke softly, mimicking the voice of his mother, long dead, whispering apologies and warnings. His knees buckled under the weight of it. The apartment, once familiar, became a maze of sound and shadow, stretching impossibly, walls bending, ceiling dropping, lights flickering to the rhythm of the whispers. He tried to record the sounds, hoping to prove he wasn't losing his mind, but every tape, every phone recording, played only static. Sometimes faint whispers bled through the speakers, repeating the same words over and over. "Join us! We are waiting! You belong!" One evening, as he huddled in the corner, the television came alive again. The static swirled violently, resolving for a moment into a pale figure, featureless but unmistakably humanoid. It raised a hand, beckoning. Mark felt a compulsion stronger than fear. He had to approach it. Each step toward the screen felt heavier, as though the floor itself resisted him. His reflection in the TV became a mask of his own face, smiling cruelly, eyes hollow, as if his very identity was slipping into the static. And then he felt it. A cold brush against his skin, fingers trailing down his arm. a whisper in his ear that was not entirely a voice, but a sensation, a thought that wasn't his own. "It's time," it breathed, and Mark knew the moment had come. When he reached toward the screen, the static erupted into 1,000 voices screaming inside his skull. Pain, terror, longing, and despair intertwined. He fell backward, heart hammering, and when he opened his eyes, the apartment was silent, dead. For a fleeting moment, he thought he had survived, but the whispers never truly stopped. At night, when the storm returned, the TV flickered, static, and from it, a single soft, intimate voice. "Mark, we're waiting." He had become part of it. The voices knew him, his fears, his thoughts, and they were patient. They were infinite. He was trapped in the static, wandering between flickers of light, between whispers, until the next storm, until the next surge, waiting for the next person to come close enough to hear the first call. Outside, the city moved on, unaware of the apartment that breathed with static, alive with voices, hungry, patient. Inside, Mark whispered back, a soft, desperate echo lost in the hiss. Don't let it take you." But it was too late. If this gave you chills, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more terrifying encounters.